She looked at her father across the dinner table and suddenly realized he might not be who she thought he was. What if his strict, proud exterior was hiding something far darker? Today, you'll see how a simple family dinner turned into a mind game that no one saw coming. A game where appearances deceive and truths are carefully hidden. Ethan, her calm and clever boyfriend, played everyone perfectly, slowly turning suspicion into trust. Or was it something more sinister? By the end, the real twist will leave you stunned. Ethan's charm wasn't just kindness. He was orchestrating a masterful deception right under their noses. You won't believe how a seemingly innocent dinner revealed the true nature of trust, pride, and manipulation. If you love stories that keep you guessing until the very last second, hit that like button now and comment where you're watching from. I want to hear your thoughts, because what you're about to see might just change how you see people forever. And the biggest secret is still waiting to be uncovered. I was nervous as I pulled into my father's driveway. Today was a family dinner, and I knew my father didn't like me bringing Ethan. Ethan was my boyfriend, but my dad thought he was lazy and not good enough for me. I took a deep breath and got out of the car. Ethan stood beside me, smiling softly. He looked relaxed, but I could tell he was ready for the challenge. When I opened the front door, I saw my family waiting inside. My mother smiled warmly, my little brother was playing with his toy cars, and my father was sitting at the table looking serious. His short gray hair was combed neatly, and his sharp eyes looked at Ethan with suspicion. "Hi, everyone," I said softly. "Hello," my mother said, giving Ethan a quick hug. My brother waved and said, "Hi, Ethan." My father didn't move. He just looked at Ethan quietly. I knew he was watching him very carefully. Ethan stepped inside and said, "Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here." My father nodded but didn't say anything. He just sat down at the table and looked away. I could feel the tension in the room. My dad didn't trust Ethan yet. We all sat down for dinner. The table was full of food: meat, vegetables, and bread. My mother asked Ethan questions about his job and his hobbies. Ethan answered calmly, smiling softly. He was good at making people feel comfortable. But my father stayed quiet. He didn't ask questions. Instead, he kept looking at Ethan and then looking away. It was like he was testing him. After a while, I saw my dad pick up his glass of water. He looked at Ethan and then down at his plate. It was clear he was trying not to say anything, but I knew he was angry inside. I wanted to make things better, so I reached across the table and took Ethan's hand. I said, "Dad, Ethan is nice. He cares about me." My dad looked at me for a moment. His face was hard. Then he took a deep breath and said, "We'll see. Let's eat and see how it goes." The dinner went on, but I saw my father still didn't trust Ethan. Ethan stayed calm and quiet, not rushing or getting upset. He seemed very relaxed, almost like he didn't care what my dad thought. I felt worried, but also curious. I wondered what Ethan was thinking. I knew he was good at hiding his plans. I wanted to believe he was just being nice, but deep down, I felt that he had something clever in mind. The night continued. My mother laughed and told funny stories. My brother played with his toys. Ethan made jokes, and everyone smiled at him. But I knew my dad was still holding back his feelings. As the evening ended, I looked at Ethan and whispered, "Thanks for coming." He smiled softly and said, "I'm glad I got to meet your family." My father nodded and said very little. I could tell he was still thinking. He didn't believe Ethan yet, but I had a feeling that things might change. That was the first part of the night. I saw the quiet war happening inside my father's mind. He wanted to see if Ethan was good enough. Ethan wanted to show he was calm and strong, even if he was just pretending. As I went to bed that night, I wondered what would happen next. Would my father really trust Ethan? Or would he see something I couldn't? I didn't know yet, but I was starting to see that this dinner was just the beginning. And I knew, deep inside, that Ethan was more clever than he looked. I sat on the sofa in the living room. My family had just finished dinner. Dad was in his usual mood, silent and serious. He looked at Ethan, my boyfriend, with a watchful eye. Ethan sat calmly, smiling softly. He didn't say much, but I knew he was listening carefully. Dad always liked to test people. I could see it in his face. He wanted to see if Ethan was good enough for me. But Ethan did not seem worried. He just relaxed and looked around the room. I felt a little nervous. I looked at Dad. He crossed his arms and sat back. He was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at Ethan and asked, "So Ethan, what do you like to do?" Ethan smiled. "I like to listen to music and walk outside," he said softly. "Sometimes I just sit and think." Dad frowned a little. He didn't say anything. He looked at Ethan carefully again. I wondered what he was thinking. He seemed to be waiting for Ethan to say more. But Ethan stayed calm. I watched Dad. I knew he was testing Ethan. He wanted to see if Ethan was honest and strong. But Ethan was very patient. He didn't get nervous. He just answered the question slowly, then stood up and looked at Ethan with a serious face. "Ethan," he said, "you don't work much, right?" Ethan nodded. "That's true. I don't have a job right now, but I like to learn new things and help out whenever I can." Dad's face looked even more serious. He crossed his arms again. I could see he was trying to decide if Ethan was lazy or just relaxing. I knew my dad didn't trust laziness. I wanted to say something, but I didn't. I didn't want to make things worse. I looked at Ethan. He smiled politely, but kept quiet. I knew he was being careful too. After a few more minutes, Dad sat down again. He looked at Ethan and said, "Well, we'll see how things go." His voice was cold, but he didn't say much more. Ethan nodded. "Thank you, sir," he said politely. I felt a little relief. Maybe Dad was not completely against Ethan. Maybe he was just trying to be sure. But I also felt a bit worried. I wondered what would happen next. That night, after everyone went to bed, I sat alone in my room. I thought about the dinner. I wondered if Dad would ever like Ethan enough, or if he would always be suspicious. But Ethan, I thought, he is very clever. I could see that now. He didn't rush. He waited and played his quiet game. I didn't know what his real plan was yet, but I decided to watch him carefully. I went to sleep with a strange feeling. I was happy that Ethan was kind, but I also knew that this was only the beginning. Dad's testing was not over, and I didn't know what would happen next. This night, I learned that sometimes people hide what they really think. Ethan might be more than he seems, and maybe, just maybe, he was playing his own game too. Tomorrow, I would find out more, because in my family, nothing is simple, and I was starting to see that some secrets are hidden behind quiet smiles. I woke up early the next afternoon. The house was quiet. The sun was shining through the windows. I sat on the couch and stared at the table where dinner was last night. Things looked the same, but I felt different inside. It was the third day Ethan was staying with us. I still liked him. He was calm and quiet, but I knew my dad didn't trust him. My dad was a proud man. He liked things to be just right. When Ethan arrived, my dad watched him like he was a stranger from another world. I remembered how my dad kept quiet during dinner. He barely said a word to Ethan. Instead, he just looked at him with his eyes narrow. I knew my dad was testing Ethan, seeing if he was good enough for me. Ethan didn't get upset. He just smiled softly and kept his calm. I wanted to help Ethan. I thought maybe if I talked to my dad, he would feel better. But I also knew my dad liked to keep his distance. He liked to be the boss. So I didn't say much. I just watched and waited. Later that afternoon, I saw Ethan sitting outside on the porch. He was looking at the trees and the sky. I went to him. "Hi, Ethan," I said softly. "Are you okay?" He looked up and smiled. "Yes, I am. Just thinking." I sat beside him. "My dad is still not sure about you. Do you think he will like you soon?" Ethan nodded. "I hope so. I know he's proud and wants the best for you." I looked at him. I liked how he was honest. I wanted him to be happy here. Suddenly, Ethan turned his head and looked at me carefully. "You know," he said quietly, "I want to show your dad I can be a good friend. Maybe then he will trust me more." I didn't understand what he meant. "How will you do that?" Ethan smiled again. Just watch. Sometimes I don't need to say much. I just need to be patient and let things happen. I felt warm inside. I liked Ethan's calm way. I thought he was brave to stay so quiet when my dad didn't trust him. That night, I sat at the table with my family. My dad was very quiet. He didn't talk much. Ethan was relaxed and smiled a lot. My sister was there too, eating and laughing. It felt normal, but I knew my dad was still thinking. After dinner, Ethan asked if he could go outside for a walk. My dad hesitated, but said okay. Ethan stepped outside into the yard. I followed behind, curious. Outside, Ethan looked at me. "I want to talk," he said softly. "Just us." We moved away from the house. Ethan looked at me with kind eyes. "You know, I like your family. I want to get to know everyone better." I nodded. My dad doesn't trust easily. He's proud and wants things to be perfect. Ethan nodded too. "That's good. But sometimes it's better to be honest, to show you are real inside." I didn't understand everything he meant, but I listened. Ethan took a deep breath. "I have a honest story to tell. Not many people know it. Maybe it's important." He paused. "When I was little, I didn't have much. No money, no big house. I had to work hard to get by. I know what it feels like to struggle. That's why I want to be honest now. I want to show I am serious about you." I looked at him. "That's nice," I said softly. Ethan smiled. "I know my family is not perfect. I know I am not perfect. But I try my best every day." I felt a little better. Ethan was not just lazy or aimless. He was trying to be real. Later that night, I went to bed thinking about all this. I wondered if my dad was starting to see Ethan differently. Maybe Ethan was not just some boy who sat around all the time. Maybe he was someone who could be trusted a little more. But I also knew my dad had secrets too. He was proud, but inside, maybe he was a little scared. Sometimes I think everyone is scared of something. I hoped that one day my dad would see Ethan's good side. Maybe then he would stop testing him so much. Maybe then we could all be happy together. As I closed my eyes, I felt a quiet hope. Maybe things would get better. Maybe Ethan and my dad could become friends. And maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. I woke up early that morning. The house was quiet. I looked out the window and saw the sun rise slowly over the trees. Today was going to be special. We were going to have dinner with my family. I felt nervous, but also excited. I wanted everything to go well. When I went into the kitchen, my girlfriend Lily was already there. She was smiling. She looked happy, but a little worried. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. I nodded. "Yes, I want to make a good impression." She took my hand and smiled. "You will. Just be yourself." I took a deep breath. Then we headed to her house. When we arrived, her family was already sitting at the table. Her dad was there too. He looked serious, like he was waiting to see what I would do. We said hello. Her mom gave me a small smile. Lily's brother didn't say much. Her dad didn't smile. He just looked at me carefully. "Hello," I said politely. He nodded, but said nothing. We all sat down to eat. The table was full of food. There was chicken, vegetables, bread, and a big bowl of salad. But something was strange. The father didn't look at me much. He kept his eyes on his plate or on Lily. During dinner, he didn't talk much. He just ate and watched. I tried to be friendly. I made small jokes and asked questions. "Do you like the food?" I asked Lily's mom. She smiled. "Yes, it's good." Her dad looked at me but said nothing. It was like he was testing me. After a while, Lily's dad got up. He said, "I need some fresh air," and left the room. I looked at Lily. She looked a little worried. She whispered, "My dad is like that. He's not very good at showing his feelings." I nodded. I knew he was suspicious of me. Maybe he thought I was lazy or not serious enough. But I wanted to stay calm. I didn't want to upset him. Later, Lily's dad came back and sat quietly again. I decided to find a way to talk to him alone. When the meal was over, I said, "Can I help you with something outside?" He looked at me for a moment, then nodded. We went outside to the yard. It was quiet and cool. "Look," I said softly, "I know you don't trust me yet. That's okay. I just want you to know I care about Lily. I want to be honest." He looked at me carefully. "Why should I trust you?" he asked. I didn't know what to say at first. Then I reached into my pocket and showed him a small picture. "It's me when I was a kid," I said. "I had a tough life. I've worked hard to get where I am. I'm not lazy. I want to be a good boyfriend for Lily." He looked at the picture and then at me. His face was hard to read. "Everyone has a story," he said quietly, "but I still don't know if I can trust you." I nodded. "That's okay. I won't rush. I just want to be real with you." Suddenly, he sighed. He looked out at the yard. "You seem calm," he said. "That's good. But I want to see if you're honest. I won't judge too quickly." We stood quiet for a moment. Then he put his hand on my shoulder. "Just take care of Lily," he said softly. I felt a little better. I knew I still had more to do, but I was patient. That night, I sat in Lily's room. She looked at me with bright eyes. "You did good today," she said. "I hope so," I replied. "I want her dad to see I'm serious." She smiled. "He's just a little tricky, but I believe in you." I smiled back. I knew I had to be careful, but I also knew I could win him over. Later that evening, Lily's dad came into the room. He sat down quietly. "I think I understand you a little better," he said. I looked at him. "Thank you. I promise I will do my best." He nodded. "We'll see. But for now, just be kind." As I sat there, I felt a strange mix of hope and caution. I knew that tonight was only the beginning. Tomorrow, I would talk to him again, and maybe, just maybe, I could earn his trust. But I also knew that sometimes people can hide their real feelings. You have to be patient and watch carefully. As I looked at Lily, I felt happy inside. No matter what, I would keep trying. I wanted to be part of her family, and maybe, with time, they would see who I really was. That was my plan, and I was going to make it work. It was quiet in the house. The dinner table was set with plates, glasses, and silverware. The family had come together again. Everyone looked at each other, but I could feel something beneath the surface. The father, Mr. Carter, sat stiffly in his chair. His eyes kept drifting to Ethan, his daughter's boyfriend. Ethan sat calmly, smiling softly. He looked relaxed, but I knew he was watching Mr. Carter very carefully. His eyes were steady, and he didn't say much. Mr. Carter was silent most of the time. He wanted to see what Ethan would do. Did Ethan really belong here? Or was he just pretending? As the meal went on, Mr. Carter gave Ethan the cold shoulder. He didn't smile. He didn't speak much. He just stared quietly. Ethan didn't mind. He kept eating and talking softly with my sister Lily. I saw my dad's jaw tighten a little. He didn't like Ethan's quiet way. But I also saw that Ethan was not nervous. He just sat there, patient. After a little while, Ethan asked a simple question. He asked about my school. I answered him, smiling. Ethan nodded and told a quick story about his own school days. He made a small joke that made me laugh. But my dad didn't smile. His face stayed serious. I wondered if Ethan was trying to make friends or just being himself. My dad's eyes kept checking Ethan's face, waiting for him to slip up. Suddenly, Ethan looked at my dad and said, "You know, sir, I respect how much you care about your family. That's something I want to understand better." My dad looked surprised. His face didn't change, but I saw his eyes flicker. Ethan kept talking. "Sometimes I feel like I don't have enough to prove myself. But I want you to know I am honest. I may seem lazy, but I work hard in my own way." My dad's lips pressed tight. He didn't say anything at first. I think he was trying to decide if Ethan was lying or telling the truth. But Ethan kept his calm and looked at my dad kindly. I saw a small change in my dad. He took a deep breath and looked down at his plate. He didn't speak for a moment. Then he said quietly, "Everyone has their own way of doing things. I just want my daughter to be happy." Ethan nodded. "That's all I want too, to make her happy." I looked at Ethan and my dad. I felt like something was shifting. Ethan was not trying to be perfect. He was just being real. And somehow, that made my dad less angry and more open. When dinner finished, Ethan stood up and helped clear the plates. He smiled at everyone and said, "Thanks for having me. I enjoyed talking with you." My dad hesitated for a moment. Then he nodded. "Maybe you're not so bad after all." I felt a strange feeling, like maybe Ethan was winning him over. but I wasn't sure yet. I just knew that Ethan had been brave. He had spoken honestly, and it made my dad pause. Later, I watched Ethan and my dad talk quietly in the other room. They looked more relaxed now. I didn't hear what they said, but I saw Ethan nodding and smiling. I thought about what I had seen today. Ethan was not just lazy or aimless. He was clever. He had a way of making people see him differently. Maybe he was more than I thought. And I wondered, would this dinner change everything? Would my dad trust Ethan more? Or was this just a small step? I didn't know yet. But I was glad I was here, watching it all happen. That night, I went to bed thinking about the quiet words Ethan had said. Sometimes, the smallest moments can change everything. And maybe, just maybe, Ethan was more than just a slacker. Maybe he was someone who could really belong here. And I hoped our family would find a way to accept him for who he truly was. I woke up the next morning feeling a little strange. After dinner last night, I had managed to get the father to talk more than he usually did. I could see he was surprised himself. He looked tired, but also a little different, more relaxed and less angry. I thought maybe I had done something right. But I knew one thing for sure. The game wasn't over yet. I had to be careful. I had to keep winning him over, step by step. That morning, I sat at the kitchen table. The daughter was busy making breakfast. She looked happy, but curious. She kept stealing glances at me. I smiled at her and said, "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" "Yes," she said. "Are you feeling better today?" "Yeah," I said. "Last night was interesting." She giggled a little. "Dad was quiet. He didn't say much." "That's true," I said. "Sometimes silence can say more than words." Just then, the father came into the kitchen. He looked at me but didn't say anything. He sat down at the table and nodded. I could tell he was still thinking about last night. I decided to stay calm and friendly. Later, we all finished breakfast. The father helped clear the table. I stayed quiet, watching him. I noticed that he didn't give me the cold shoulder as much. Maybe I was getting through to him. Maybe he was starting to see that I wasn't so bad. After breakfast, I asked to go for a walk outside. The father hesitated, but then said, "Okay, I'll come with you." We stepped outside into the yard. It was quiet and sunny. I looked around and then said, "You know, I've been thinking about my life. Sometimes I didn't know what I wanted. I used to just go along, not caring much about anything." The father looked at me, surprised. "And what changed?" "I guess I started to realize," I said softly, "that I want to be better. That maybe I can do more than just be aimless." He nodded slowly. "It's hard to change, I know. I've felt the same way at times. We all have doubts." We stood there for a moment. I could see that he was thinking hard. I decided to be even more honest. I looked at him and asked, "Have you ever felt like you're not good enough?" He looked away for a second. "Sometimes, but I try to hide it." "I get it," I said. "We all want to feel strong, but maybe sharing our worries makes us stronger." He looked at me again. "You're different from what I thought. Maybe there is more to you than laziness." I smiled. "Thanks. I want to show I can be trustworthy. Just give me a chance." That was a small step, but I knew it was important. I wanted him to see that I was more than just the lazy guy he thought I was. Later that day, everyone was inside. The daughter and I sat on the sofa. She said, "Ethan, I think Dad is starting to understand you better." "I hope so," I said. "I've been trying to show him I care." Just then, the father came into the room. He sat down and looked at us. There was a different look in his eyes. He seemed softer, more open. "You know," he said, "I've been thinking about last night. Maybe I judged you too quickly, Ethan." I felt my heart beat faster. I was not expecting that. I looked at him and said, "Thanks, that means a lot." He smiled a little. "I want us all to get along. I want my daughter to be happy. And I guess I need to see for myself if you're really someone I can trust." I nodded. "I understand. I want to be part of your family, honestly." That moment felt good. I knew I was moving closer to my goal. I was not just pretending anymore. I was showing him who I really was, calm, honest, and patient. But I also knew that behind his words, he still had doubts. This was only the start. I had to keep up my plan and make sure he saw the real me, someone who was worth trusting. That night, as we sat around the table again, I looked around at the family. They were not perfect, but they were trying. And I was trying too. I thought, maybe I can win them all. Maybe I can make them see I am more than the outsider. Maybe I can become part of this family, if they let me. And deep inside, I knew I had more tricks up my sleeve. I would be patient, I would be kind, and I would keep playing my quiet game, step by step. Because I knew, trust is a game, and I was ready to win. I wake up early on the day of the dinner. I feel calm, but a little nervous. I know I have to keep acting normal. I want Mr. Carter to trust me, but I also need to stay careful. I think about what I will do today. When I arrive at the house, everyone is already there. The table is set, and the smell of food fills the air. I see the family sitting around, talking quietly. Mr. Carter is in his usual serious mood. He looks at me and gives a small nod. I know he still doesn't fully trust me. My girlfriend, Sarah, smiles at me. Ethan, everything will be fine, she whispers. I nod back. I want to make her happy, but I also need to be smart. Dinner starts. The family sits down together. Sarah's father keeps quiet, watching me. I stay calm and polite. I ask simple questions about the food. I try to make everyone feel comfortable. But I notice Mr. Carter keeps looking at me with a frown. He is still suspicious. During the meal, Mr. Carter doesn't say much to me. He mostly eats and watches. I decide not to push him. I sit quietly, listening and waiting. I know that patience is important now. After a while, Sarah's mother asks if I like the house. I say, yes, it's very nice. Thank you for inviting me. I smile softly. I see Mr. Carter glance at me again. He is thinking. Later, Sarah's brother jokes about something funny. Everyone laughs. I laugh too, trying to seem friendly. I want them to see that I am not a threat, but deep inside, I am still planning my next move. After dinner, I see Mr. Carter alone in the kitchen. I decide to try something new. I walk over and pour 2 glasses of whiskey. I quietly ask, "Would you like a drink?" He looks at me surprised, but nods slowly. I hand him a glass. We sit down in the living room. The room is quiet. I feel a little nervous, but also confident. I start to talk softly. I tell Mr. Carter I understand how he feels. I tell him that I want to be part of the family, that I care about Sarah and her happiness. Mr. Carter listens. He doesn't say much, but I see him relax a little. I keep talking, sharing a story about a mistake I made when I was younger. I tell him I learned from it. I say that I want to be honest with him. While I talk, I notice Mr. Carter leaning forward. He seems to want to understand me more. I keep quiet about what I am really doing. I just want him to trust me more. Suddenly, Mr. Carter smiles a little. "You're a strange boy," he says, "but I guess everyone has their story." We drink our whiskey. I feel happy inside. I have made progress. Later, I walk back into the living room. Everyone is laughing and talking. I sit down close to Sarah. I put my arm around her. She smiles and holds my hand. I see her happy. I know I am winning her family's trust slowly. As the night goes on, I watch and listen. I see Mr. Carter talk more openly. He is still cautious, but seems less cold. I realize that by being calm and honest, I'm making him see me differently. I sit quietly, thinking about my plan. Today was good. I have learned that patience and kindness can help me get closer. Tomorrow, I will keep doing the same. I will show them I am not just an aimless boy. I am someone they can trust. When it is time to go to bed, I feel proud. I have taken another step forward. I know that I still have a lot to do, but I also know that I am in control now. I will keep playing my part carefully. This evening was not just about dinner. It was about showing strength without fighting. It was about opening hearts slowly, one by one. And I am ready for what comes next. I will keep my calm and stay patient, because I know that patience can be a weapon, and tonight it worked for me. I woke up early that morning. I didn't sleep well the night before. My mind kept thinking about the dinner tonight. I knew the father was still suspicious of me, but I also knew I had a plan. I had to stay calm and be patient. When I arrived at the house later, I saw Lily in the kitchen. She looked happy but tired. She hugged me tight. "Are you ready for tonight?" she asked quietly. "I am ready," I said softly. "I just hope he can see who I really am." We sat at the table for dinner. The father was there too. He looked at me with a sharp, serious face. He didn't say much. He just kept watching, as if he was waiting for me to do something wrong. During the meal, I kept quiet. I smiled at Lily and her mother. I answered their questions politely. But I noticed the father didn't look at me much. He kept his arms crossed and stayed still. After a while, I decided to try something different. I leaned back in my chair and looked at the father. I wanted to find a moment when we could talk alone. I excused myself from the table and walked toward the living room. The father followed me quietly. I could see he was ready to stop me if I did something wrong. But I kept calm. "Would you like a drink?" I asked, holding up a glass. He looked at me with suspicion. "No, thank you," he said curtly. I poured some whiskey into the glass I was holding. It was a little secret trick. I wanted to see how he reacted when I offered him something stronger. We sat together in the quiet. I took a small sip from my drink. Then I started talking softly. "I've been thinking a lot about family," I said. "Sometimes it's hard to trust someone new. I understand that." He nodded slowly. "Trust is not given easily," he said. "I know," I replied. "But sometimes people need to see that we are honest. That's what I want, to be honest with you. I want to show you I care about Lily and her family." He looked at me carefully. I saw a small flicker of something in his eyes. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe he was just tired of the constant testing. I kept talking. I told him I had problems when I was young, that I made mistakes but always tried to do better. I shared a little about my hopes for the future. I didn't tell him everything, but enough to seem genuine. He listened quietly. His face was still serious, but I saw that he was listening more than before. Then I did something bold. I looked directly into his eyes and said, "Sometimes I feel scared, like I don't belong, but I want to be part of your family. I want to prove I'm worth it." He looked away for a moment. He seemed surprised by my words. Then he sighed and took a sip of his own drink. "I've been through a lot," he said softly. "Trust is hard for me too." I nodded. I knew I had made some progress. I might not have seemed like much at first, but now I was showing him I was serious. We sat there for a while. The silence was no longer uncomfortable. It was different. It was like a small bridge was forming between us. When I went back to the dining room, Lily smiled at me. Her eyes looked brighter. I felt happy, but also cautious. I knew the father was still watching me, but I also knew I had taken a small step forward. Later, when everyone was finishing dinner, Lily's mother brought out a dessert. It was a cake with strawberries, but just before serving, she looked at me and whispered, "Ethan, I think your story touched him. Maybe tonight will change things." I smiled quietly. I didn't say much. I knew I had to keep being patient and careful. I had made a small win, but I needed more. As the night went on, I watched the father more closely. Sometimes I saw him looking at me with softer eyes. Sometimes he still looked suspicious. But I believed that if I stayed calm and honest, I could keep winning his trust. And deep inside, I knew my plan was working. I was not just here to pretend. I was here to change everything. For Lily, for myself, and maybe even for him. I just had to be patient a little longer. The night ended peacefully. We all laughed and shared stories, but I knew the real game was just beginning. I smiled to myself, ready for whatever came next. I wake up on the morning of the 9th dinner. I feel a strange mix of calm and nervousness. I know I am close to finishing my plan. I have been patient, and now I need to be very careful. I walk into the kitchen and see the father, Mr. Carter. He is sitting at the table, looking at a cup of coffee. His face is serious, but I notice a tiny sign of softness in his eyes. He is not as cold as before, but he still acts reserved. I say, "Good morning, sir." I try to sound friendly but respectful. He nods and says, "Morning." I see that he is watching me, trying to figure out what I will do next. Later, we all sit down for breakfast. The daughter, Emily, smiles and talks happily. She is excited about tonight's dinner. Ethan, her boyfriend, listens and laughs at her stories. He is relaxed, but I see him paying attention to the father. He wants to know what makes him angry or happy. The father keeps quiet most of the time. He eats his food slowly, almost like he is thinking. I know he is still cautious, but I also see a little less suspicion in his eyes. Maybe he is starting to believe that Ethan is not such a bad person. In the afternoon, I decide to do something smart. I ask the father if he wants to go for a walk outside. He agrees, and we leave the house together. The sun is shining, and the air smells fresh. We walk in silence for a while. Then I say, "Mr. Carter, I want to thank you for letting me stay here. I know I am not perfect, but I really want to be part of your family." I look at him and see his face soften a little. He pauses and then says, "It's not easy to trust someone so quickly. But I see that you are trying." His voice is quiet, but I hear the honesty inside. I take a small risk. I tell him a little about myself. I say, "I used to be shy. I didn't have many friends, but I always wanted to do better. I want to be honest with everyone now." He listens carefully. I see his eyes soften more. It's a tiny step, but it feels good. I know that every little moment like this helps me get closer. That evening, we all sit at the dinner table. The house smells wonderful. Emily has helped her mother prepare a nice meal. There is chicken, vegetables, and bread. But something is missing. I remember I forgot to bring the dessert. I feel a little sad. I want everything to be perfect. I quietly tell Emily, and she looks surprised. She says, "Oh, I forgot to tell you. I already packed some cookies for later." She smiles. That makes me happy. I think maybe tonight will be a good evening. We start eating. The father remains quiet at first, but then he begins to ask questions. He asks Ethan about his childhood. Ethan answers calmly, telling a story about a time he helped his friend. The father listens. I see him relaxing more. I look around the table and see everyone laughing and talking. There is a feeling that this night might be different from others. After dinner, Ethan makes a little joke. Everyone laughs. Even the father cracks a small smile. I feel proud. I know that I have made some progress. Later, when everyone is sitting quietly, Ethan asks the father if he wants to talk alone. The father looks a little surprised, but agrees. Ethan pours him a drink, just a small glass of whiskey. They sit in the living room. Ethan begins to talk softly about his feelings. He talks about how hard it is to grow up feeling like he doesn't belong. The father listens carefully. In that quiet moment, the father starts to open up. He says he worries about his daughter. He says he feels unsure sometimes if he is doing the right thing. Ethan listens and nods. I watch from a little distance. I see that Ethan has used his calm words to make the father trust him more. He has made the father forget his worries for a moment. That night, I feel very hopeful. I know I am close to finishing my plan. Ethan has been patient and clever. The father is starting to believe that Ethan is good. I go to bed thinking about tomorrow. I know that the last step is coming. I must be careful. But I also feel happy. I am getting closer to what I want. Trust, acceptance, and maybe even friendship. Tomorrow, everything will change, and I will be ready. I sit quietly at the table. The dinner is almost over. The room feels calm now. My father is sitting across from me. He looks tired, but his face is soft. For the first time in a long while, he is not angry or cold. I see a small change in him. He takes a sip of water and looks at me. I decide to talk softly. "Dad," I say, "thank you for inviting us. I really appreciate it." My father nods slowly. He looks at Ethan. His eyes are still cautious, but he is listening. Ethan smiles gently. He says, "Thank you, sir. I am happy to be here. I want to get to know your family better." Ethan's voice is kind and calm. I can see that he is trying to be nice. My father looks at Ethan again. He hesitates. Then he speaks slowly. "You are a good boy," he says, "but I still have my doubts." His voice is quiet. He is not angry now, just honest. Ethan nods. "I understand, sir. I want to show you I am serious. I want to be someone you can trust." Ethan's words are simple, but honest. He is trying to make my father see he is not a bad person. The dinner feels peaceful. I watch my dad and Ethan talk. I see my father's shoulders relax a little. He is listening more now. Maybe he is starting to see Ethan differently. Suddenly, Ethan stands up. "Would you like some dessert?" he asks. My father shakes his head. "No, thank you," he says. "Maybe later." Ethan smiles again. He looks around the room. Then he turns to me and whispers, "I want to talk to your dad alone for a minute." I nod. I step away from the table. Ethan and my dad go into the living room. I hear their voices. Ethan pours 2 glasses of whiskey and hands one to my dad. They sit close together. I can see Ethan's calm smile. In the quiet room, Ethan starts to talk softly. He says, "Dad, I know you are worried. I know you want to protect your family." Ethan pauses. "But I also want you to know something. I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I am just trying to do my best." My dad listens carefully. He looks surprised. Ethan continues, "Sometimes I feel lost. I don't have all the answers, but I want to be honest with you. I want to change. I want to be better." Ethan's voice is gentle, like he's sharing a secret. My father's face softens more. He puts down his glass. "You seem sincere," he says quietly, "but I don't know if I can trust you yet." His words are honest, but there is a small crack in his pride. Ethan leans closer. "I understand," he says, "but I hope you will see that I am trying. I want to be part of your family, not against you." They sit together in silence. I watch from the doorway. I realize Ethan has used this moment very carefully. He made my dad talk, made him open a little. Ethan is good at this. He isn't just pretending. Maybe he really does want to change. Back in the dining room, everyone is waiting. My daughter looks at me with a smile. She whispers, "It's going well, isn't it?" I nod. I feel a small hope in my heart. Later, after dinner, we all sit in the living room. Ethan keeps being friendly and funny. He makes jokes, and everyone laughs. My father's face looks lighter. He is smiling more now. It feels like Ethan has helped him relax. As the evening ends, my father comes over. He pats Ethan on the shoulder. "Thank you for tonight," he says. "I was wrong to judge you so quickly." Ethan looks surprised but happy. "Thank you, sir," he replies. "That means a lot to me." I look at my father and Ethan. I see that something has changed. Maybe my dad is starting to trust Ethan more. Maybe Ethan's no longer just the outsider. Maybe he is becoming part of us. But I know something else. Ethan is clever. He planned this all along. Every word, every smile, every quiet moment. He knew how to make my father open up. Ethan won this game without yelling or fighting. I wonder what will happen next. Will my family stay happy? Will Ethan stay with us? Or is this just the beginning of something new and different? As I walk to my room, I feel a strange mix of feelings. Happiness, curiosity, and a little worry. Trust is a fragile thing. Ethan showed me that tonight. It can be a trap, too. I close my eyes and think about everything. Ethan's calm voice, my father's soft smile, the quiet dinner. I realize that sometimes people can hide their true selves behind calm words and kind faces. And I know now that trust must be earned, not given. Ethan proved that tonight. He was not just an outsider. He was a clever, careful man who knew how to make people believe in him. I fall asleep, thinking about what tomorrow will bring. Will my family remain strong? Will Ethan stay? Or will new surprises come? Only time will tell. But one thing is sure, tonight was a new beginning, a new chapter. And I am glad I was part of it.